800. Washington. This could be one of those games where Washington.
Streaming live on the Elevation5280sports.com website. Just click Listen Live at the top of the page, and Windows Media Player will play the sports talk you want to hear. Elevation5280sports.com. Careful. It's tough to breathe up here.
Step this way for the Spanish Inquisition. Just a little coffee talk, okay? Like butter.
Matt's an okay dude, but he's a dummy.
Michael! Oh, that's funny. Michael!
And now, broadcasting live from the Elevation 5280 Sports Studios in Denver, Colorado, this is The Wheelhouse with Matt Mascarenas and Michael Spillett.
I've said it 2 years ago. I'll say it again, Matt, that Will Barton can and will shoot you out of a game. That was the same criticism that I had of J.R. Smith when he was here, Matt. Yeah, he'll drain 5 3-pointers in a row, but then he'll miss 10 in a row. And you always say, a shooter needs to keep shooting. No, never believed in that sentiment, especially with guys like a J.R. Smith and a Will Barton, guys who will shoot you out of a game.
I agree 100% on this team being a pretender right now. And you mentioned it, Will Barton, there's no semblance of a rotation on this basketball team. There's no bench. The bench is awful. You can't have Mike Malone keeping Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray when he's on the court, when he's playing, or your starters playing 35, 40 plus minutes a game, because you can't take a rest. You can't let your bench come in because they're going to give up double-digit leads. They're going to give up double-digit runs.
Can we invite Matt?
All work and no play makes Michael a dull boy.
Now, Matt and Michael are on.
And welcome into the Wheelhouse here at Elevation5280sports.com. Matt and Mike hanging out with you on our first day of 2022. Matt, it is here, and
we made it.
And hopefully it's not a B word like last year.
Right. I can't believe we did it. 2021 was, I don't know if it was it was kind of a blur for me, but it was good. It was, I mean, I don't want to come out and say like, oh, I had a crack, downplay some crappy stuff that happened. But, overall for us, for me individually, it was all right. How was yours? Yours was pretty good too, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was decent. And sorry, excuse me for that little piece of music there, but yeah, I mean, coming off a leg procedure a couple weeks ago, that was, I guess, the only major thing that I guess was a little bit of a scare, but it wasn't really a scare. So, but yeah, hopefully this year is better than actually, Matt, the last 2 years combined. We'll put it that way.
Yeah. I agree with you there. 100% agree with you there.
In terms of sports, though, it was a pretty jam-packed year, as we just witnessed most and all of the college football bowl games, as the national championship is set, and that'll be January 10th, almost 2 weeks from now, Matt, and it'll be Georgia and Alabama as they win their respective bowl semifinal games. So last night's Rose Bowl was pretty crazy. The Sugar Bowl was, it started off a little bit of a snooze fest, Matt, a defensive game, 7-7 going into the fourth quarter, but a lot of good bowl games this past weekend.
Yeah, there were fun and exciting games, and that's what I loved about the bowl games, and what I remember about the BCS bowl games when it was the BCS was that you could look at some of these games with a little bit more excitement. And I'm not going to say that the kids took it a little bit more seriously, because I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but I know I definitely was looking at it differently, because I always love watching the Rose Bowl just because of what the Rose Bowl is. But there was exciting, the matchups, I guess could have been more competitive, like you said. We had a pretty good defensive game in that what was it? I want to say it was the Cincinnati, Alabama game. It was kind of close for a little bit, but you could just tell right off the bat Cincinnati was not. They didn't belong. I'm not gonna say they didn't belong there, but like you could say that because it just looked like there was two different types of teams that were on the football field. Michigan, on the other hand, good night of living. I mean, you had a chance to step up. Like, this is why I go hard at Michigan fans because of this, and Jim Harbaugh fans because of this situation. When they have a chance to really go out there and make a statement, and then they really just don't do anything. And it just was. It makes me wonder if the BCS would have got these two teams in like if you look back in the BCS era and we didn't have the playoff. If the BCS would have got these two teams, and I feel like they would have. This is what we would have got.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. And Michigan, I guess for lack of a better term, fell flat on their face and didn't come out and get the game that they were probably hoping for, expecting. Probably a lot of fans were expecting. So bad on them. Once again, the national title game comes your way on January 10th. Georgia and Alabama. What is this? What would this mean for Nick Saban, Matt? I know he's already kind of cemented himself as, one of, if not the greatest college football coaches to ever walk the earth. But what would this add to his legacy if Alabama were to win another national title?
God, I mean, it would just to me it would solidify the chokehold that Alabama and Saban has had. It would just I know not that it needs to be solidified, but it's just like God. Everybody's going to gear up just to beat Alabama. It's not like to gear up to beat the SEC, gear up to beat the Big Ten, the Big 12, whatever the Big 12 is. It's not to do that anymore. It's just gear up to beat Alabama. It's like all these kids that are going in the transfer portal. They should team up and they should be looking at it like, where could we go? They should do like what LeBron James does in the NBA and be like, where can we go that we can beat Alabama? Let's all see if we could go somewhere to beat Alabama, because that's all it's about anymore. And if you're a kid, and you want to be a championship, you want to get that pedigree, where are you going to go? You're going to want to go to freaking Alabama. So it's just there's a stranglehold with Alabama on college football, and I just don't know or see or how they can get any other team can come in and get up on it. Georgia was supposed to be the best defense that we've ever seen, and look what Alabama did to them. And I don't know if it's going to be the same way again. You kind of look at what Georgia can do. It's all kind of on Stetson. Can he, can he come in and give an offense to that defense with that Georgia provides there? So, but yeah, Alabama's just if they win, man, oh my God, it's like, I don't even want to get to the point where it's like, oh, well, enough already. It's like, okay, let's see how much they can win. Let's see how far they can freaking go. We're watching greatness,
Yeah, and Nick Saban, we'll see we'll see. I mean, it's just year after year. It seems like they're somewhere in the playoff or a bowl, a major bowl game or something like that. So, yeah, that'll just put him deeper and deeper into the lore of college football coaching. Obviously, his short stint in the NFL didn't work out so well. It's just one of those things where, like, for example, like here in Denver, Vic Fangio, not a good head coach, more of a, defensive coordinator, lifer. Same thing goes for college coaches who try to make it in the NFL, maybe for the exception of Pete Carroll, Matt, in Seattle. And, stories are that his time could be nearing his end, him and or Russell Wilson up in Seattle. But, Nick Saban will go down as probably the greatest college coach to ever live. Really quickly before we get to our first break, Matt, we lost a couple of legends before the clock struck midnight a couple of days ago. One of them was John Madden, the other Betty White.
Yeah.
and one yesterday, Matt, Dan Reeves. Obviously, we know him well, being in Denver and then coaching against the Broncos a few years later after he left Denver as a part of the Atlanta Falcons. Matt, in his tenure in the league as a coach, no matter what kind of capacity of coach he was in, was a part of 8 Super Bowl teams, Matt, 3 here in Denver, third most by an individual. Really quickly, your thoughts on Dan Reeves.
I have very fond memories of Dan Reeves when he was coach here. That was like my youth when we were watching when I was watching Dan Reeves. As a kid growing up, I remember being a little guy, my dad and my uncle screaming at the TV during the Super Bowls when, they were getting blown out by San Francisco, by the Redskins. And I remember all that stuff. So when he got older, like as far as paying attention to his coaching, I do remember like, oh, that's Dan Reeves. That's Dan Reeves' team. That's what Dan Reeves likes to do. And then I remember like remember when he drafted Maddox and he wanted to phase John Elway out. There was that whole deal. Him and John Elway never saw eye to eye on a lot of things, but they won a lot of football games. So remember, and then we went to Atlanta. Just it was crazy there with what he did there. But I do remember a lot of stories, and I was following Woody Page on Twitter, and he was going over a lot of the stories that he would have that he had with Dan Reeves because he covered the Broncos. That was the peak of newspapers and all that stuff. So there was a lot of that going on. I remember reading this stuff in the newspaper and whatnot. But it was definitely how many he was at 4 Super Bowls. He went to 3 with the Broncos and 1 with the Falcons, right? Something like that.
As a head coach, yeah, but part of 8 as
a
coach in the league total.
And that's just crazy. And to think that he's not in the Hall of Fame yet, and like I don't even know where he is as far as getting selected, but then there's coaches that are ahead of him. Like I think I saw something like Bill Levy's ahead of him, and he's in the Hall of Fame. And I mean I think Dan Reeves it's just crazy that when we think about this stuff after they have passed, and I know he was sick for a while, but we think about this stuff after they had passed, and it's crazy. We should start getting this stuff taken care of as far as Hall of Fame goes before these guys pass away. But yeah, and then Madden, I mean, man, yeah, it was and Betty White. It was kind of tough losing legends, like you said. These are legends, Betty White, Madden, legends.
You play a lot of Madden in your heyday, Matt?
I did. I've kind of stopped recently because of the game's just been awful. It's been trash, and I haven't liked it since I want to say, gosh, it was maybe 2012, 2013 Madden. I can't remember who was on the cover of that Madden exactly the last time I really enjoyed a Madden. But it's yeah, I was a Madden guy. I'm assuming you were too, right?
Oh yeah. Still get it every year, which is dumb because it's basically the same thing every year.
I'm trying to remember what I used to love the franchise mode in Madden. And then when they first got, like, remember the training camp drills you would go and do, and you'd have to achieve a level up your running back. They kind of still have that now, but they've involved more packs. Like you can spend more money to make your team better. Back in the day, you couldn't do that. You have to put in the time, the grind. Like I would always remember grinding Madden. You can still grind on those MUT teams or whatever, those all Madden teams or whatever, how the heck they got going now. But it's not the same. It really isn't the same. Like you're right. It's the same game over and over again, I feel like.
Yeah. So John Madden, I want to say like I don't know if he's the best color analyst to ever do it, Matt. It was, funny at times and stuff like that. Taught you a lot about. He was Tony Romo before Tony Romo was Tony Romo. He would call the play before it happened.
Right. And he would have insight on everything a part of the game. I shared something on Twitter. I can't remember where I got it from, but he was going over how they had it was a Super Bowl, and he was going over how they had the buckets to dump water on the coach. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes, I saw that one.
Wasn't that just incredible? Like that's insight that you want from a color guy. That's insight that you want from somebody who's actually been a part of that and set all that up. And that's what a lot of people don't pay attention to is there's so many minute details that go on in a football game, down to which water jug is going to get poured on the right person and whatnot. So he always had stuff like that, and he entered it to the game. He added it to the game, I should say. And he made football fans out of a lot of people. My mom loved to listen to Madden. My wife now, whenever we were watching games, back when we were dating, obviously he hasn't called a game in some time, but she would enjoy watching football games with me because Madden would call them. So Yeah, that was huge, and especially if you're a Madden game player, it really gets you because you hear the iconic boom, and boom here, boom there, or even tough acting to acting. I mean, the foot spray. I mean, that's iconic because of John Madden.
Yeah. So I don't know if you saw the one of his later interviews. I think it was on the All Madden documentary. He said he didn't even know what video game was. Someone just approached him just to get his insight, and then eventually grew and evolved. And he wanted to teach young people, obviously, more of the demographic to play video games, right, to know, what plays were and stuff like that. So good on him. Made a ton of money just because his name was on there. And then, eventually wasn't in the game anymore, but, you could ask Madden what play you should run at a certain time.
Right. You had to ask Madden and he'll give you the draw it up what you need to do. And I understand, it's kind of hard to keep the guy in the game calling the games, especially when Pat Summerall, was no longer around. So it got to, and I mean, that's another thing too, the commentary on the game. I don't want to sit here and bitch about Madden, the game all morning, but it just brings things up too. The commentary in the football game too could have been better, but going forward, yeah, and then Betty White, man, I think she did a good job. Like, she waited and didn't go so she wouldn't make 2022 suck. You know what I mean? So it was kind of like that. That's what I feel like. So I'm going to go before the new year. So 2022 can't suck, because it was tough when you see remember all those memes when people were going and then, or passing away, and then, oh, Betty White's still here. Thank God Betty White's still here. Remember those? I feel like those were like 10 years ago.
Yeah. And only would have turned 100, Matt, on January 17th. So just weeks away from being 100. But like you said, maybe didn't want to start the 2022 year off like crap. We're going to take our first timeout. On the other side, will the NHL and NBA return to a bubble? We'll get into that next here on the Wheelhouse, Elevation5280sports.com.
Interact with Elevation 5280 Sports on social media, like our Facebook page.
People want to go on the internet and check out their friends, so why not build a website that offers that?
Follow us on Twitter at 5280 Sports Radio.
What the heck is a Twitter?
Also, follow us on Twitch at Elevation 5280 Radio to watch the Stalking Dead live.
Little pig, let me in.
And as always, check us out online at elevation5280sports.com. Careful. It's tough to breathe up here.
Hey, Michael Spillane here for the Flash Hauler Driving app, a convenient app for on-demand furniture moving, vehicle towing, and courier service. If you like being out on the road, not having people breathing down your neck, pressuring you to get stuff done by deadlines and time limits, join our fleet on the Flash Hauler Driving app. Earn money by driving your pickup or van. Be your own boss, making your own schedule, not to mention the feeling of helping truckless people getting their furniture moved to wherever they need. If vehicle towing is more in your arena, we provide that service as well. And if you don't have a truck or a van, no worries. The app enables you to do courier gigs. It's an easy process to sign up and get approved to be part of the Flash Hauler Hero team. Be proud of what you do while you do it at your convenience. So what are you waiting for? Grab your phone, download and install the Flash Hauler, that's FLASHOLR driver app, or visit our website, HOLR-apps.com. Getting it hauled in a flash.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah.
You remember that ball game we went to a couple years ago?
Sure.
And how you didn't have enough cash for 2 hot dogs, so you walked with me on your shoulders until we found an ATM? And then when we got back to our seats, we never saw the hot dog guy again.
Well, I don't remember all that.
Yeah, that was an awesome game.
You never know which moments will be the ones they'll remember forever. So take time to be a dad today. Learn more at 1-877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Elevation5280sports.com is more than just a streaming radio station.
Hi, y'all.
Rule the water cooler conversation by keeping up to date with scores and stats from your favorite team.
Shot. Score! Nathan McKinnon from the high slot on a perfect feed from Mikko Rantanen.
Get to know your favorite hosts. Access show lineups and past shows in the audio vault. And in-depth analysis from our sports experts and bloggers. Elevation5280sports.com. Careful. It's tough to breathe up here. This segment on Elevation 5280 Sports is brought to you by the Flash Hauler Driver app, helping people move in a flash.
Jojo lived his home in Tucson, Arizona, awesome California grass. Get back, get back.
And welcome back into the Wheelhouse here at Elevation5280sports.com. Matt, Mike, hanging out with you on our first day of 2022 here on Elevation 5280 Sports. And Matt, going on 8 years. This will be the 8th year that we've been doing Elevation 5280 Sports. So thank you all for helping with that. As make sure you go to the audio vault on our website, elevation5280sports.com, and listen to all the content and shows that we have on there. Streaming live right now on Facebook Live, on twitch.tv/5280radio, and of course right on the homepage, elevation5280sports.com. As well, Matt, there had been first of all, the NHL was on a 2-week hiatus. Finally came back yesterday, Matt. On New Year's Day, we had the Winter Classic. Blues absolutely demolished the Minnesota Wild for the Winter Classic. And then just a bunch of games. The Avs here in Denver should be back today. That's the plan. It's an early puck drop, 1 o'clock Mountain Time for that. So we will see if that gets going. Nuggets were back last night. And I'm only bringing up local teams here just because Denver and Nuggets were postponed a game because of COVID issues. They only had, against the other night, Matt, only 6 players that were able to dress. You need 8 to field a team, and they only had 6. So I don't want to get into a bunch of COVID stuff, Matt, but I mean, you're wearing a mask on the bench, Matt, and then you go out there and literally spit and sweat and literally rubbing your face in some dude's armpit. So, not sure what the whole point is. None of these guys are going to sniff a hospital room. I'm done. There's my rant.
I agree. And did you see Draymond Green? He was making a big deal like, well, we can't. Why don't they do like going through all the things that they can't get 2 players rest? And it's like, dude, the freaking you have injured players, number one, that can't play. And then now you have all these people entering the COVID protocol that can't play. And they're signing like how many, I think they have, I want to say the Nuggets have at least 2 or 3 G League players that they have signed that have been playing with this team through their 10-day contracts. And then they've added, what was that one kid that Javon Curry or Murray or something like that. That dude was really good, but it was mind boggling to me that Draymond Green actually put that tweet out, knowing all the crap that's been going on, especially with the Nuggets, who they just lost to recently. Like it was that night before they just lost to, and then he comes out with that tweet. That was just mind-boggling, that tweet that he put out there. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, a lot of people harping on him. A lot of people are harping on LeBron James for shooting out that Spider-Man meme, where all the Spider-Men are pointing to each other, and one says COVID, one says flu, one says cold. I mean, I don't agree with LeBron on a lot of stuff, but here's the shrugging shoulders emoji. He ain't lying.
He ain't lying. But I think the thing that happened with LeBron is that people felt like he was being hypocritical because he was kind of going back and like saying that back in the that's the thing with LeBron. And I know we're not going to go down this COVID row or street, I guess. But he hasn't really like came out like Aaron Rodgers has and got torched for his COVID stuff, but he hasn't came out and really done it. But I think he's kind of going the way of mostly more of Aaron Rodgers, if you ask me. Yeah, did you get that feeling?
A little bit. I don't think he wants to go full Aaron Rodgers. And
right.
Say
I don't think you ever want to go full Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, play wise, maybe, but
maybe, yeah.
They're both the same age and they're playing pretty well right now. So.
Right.
Athletic wise, yeah, sure. Dating wise, I'm leaning towards Aaron Rodgers, but isn't that over now? Didn't something happen with them too?
Did they? I didn't notice that because I follow Aaron Rodgers because he's one of my favorite football players, but I haven't noticed if they were gone or not. He's just been in this just like cool, laid back, chilled out state. It's hard to get a good read on him anymore. He's just so freaking goose frobbed out that it's hard to figure out where Aaron is right now. It's hard to get a read on that dude because he's so mellow right now.
Yeah, locked in is is an understatement for Aaron Rodgers right now. Could be on the verge of back-to-back MVP seasons, on the verge of back-to-back NFC title games, Matt, and one of the favorites now to make it to the Super Bowl. And we'll see what happens there. Going back to the NBA and NHL really quick, a lot of people talking bubble format once again with all of these outbreaks. The NHL, Matt, once again returned yesterday. The only sports league, and I have to backtrack here because I used to call the NHL the toughest league because these dudes will literally lose a tooth, get knocked out, be brought back to life on the bench, and still go out there and play. They're the only league, Matt, that's 100% vaccinated, and they took 2 weeks off.
Yeah. I you know what I wonder, because since there's a lot of Canadian influence there because there's part of their leagues in Canada, or you have to deal with Canada part. I wonder if that has to do with anything, because I know Canada, their COVID restrictions and their COVID protocols and stuff might be a little bit different than what ours are currently, and I wonder if that has something to do with it. I wonder if it does.
Well, yeah, because Canada is going back to locking down their borders, and
Right.
only really Canadian teams are playing each other once again, which is really boring. I'm sorry for the people in Canada, but we'll see if the borders open back up. But the main question here is, Matt, will either of these leagues be headed back to a bubble format, do you think?
God, I hope not, man. I hope not. But it's hard to say because there's been a lot of, like, the NFL came off of their 10-day quarantine policy, I believe, and now it's 5 days if you're vaccinated and you can prove a negative test. So they went off on that. They kind of came off on that, and you have the CDC and what everybody's they're kind. It looks like they're kind of pulling back some things, some restrictions. So, but like I said, they just came off with a 2-week deal. NBA is canceling games, and I wonder if they're going to look at it like, let's take some weeks off, like the NHL did almost, and the NBA now. Let's let this Omicron, step up, whatever.
I think it's a Marion.
I like Omarion better.
Old R&B singer, yeah.
You suckers just got served. So I think they're going to let it go through, because this is like, really, it feels like it's really, it's easy to get. It's one of the easiest ones to get, and it's spreading through everything, but it's not as severe. So maybe they might go through the way of just kind of shutting down a little bit, letting it clear through, and then starting up again. But I don't like that idea of starting and stopping, because it kind of gets everything. Players, injuries. We got a lot of injured players already. So I don't want to see a bubble. Gosh, I don't want to see a bubble. I really don't. But I don't think we will. I really don't. But gosh, I think if it comes to where they don't have to shut it down, but they can do a bubble again, I would do that. But I don't want to see either or, I just don't know, because there's a lot of things going on that it seems like leagues and even the country is kind of loosening their grip, or the restrictions and the protocols and stuff on the way things are doing things, but we're still having outbreaks. So it's kind of hard to tell. I hope not. I really hope not. And also, like a side note, I know this is different realm, but it's still sports entertainment. The WWE, which is one of the biggest wrestling or promotions in the world, they don't require their athletes to be taking COVID tests anymore. So they pulled off a restriction on that. But at the same time, they were talking about going back to their bubble system, which they call the Thunderdome, where they don't have any fans and they do things virtually, stuff like that. So again, this is it's one side is, yeah, hey, we're going to pull restrictions. We're going to even add more stuff to it. We're going to be able to do more things. Then you have some more other side people. Hey, let's shut it down. Let's go to a bubble scenario. So I really hope it doesn't, but it's really hard to tell right now, Mike. I don't know what's going on, because there's different things, different stuff going on out there from different leagues. So I hope to goodness we don't have another bubble system, either with the NHL or the NBA. I really hope we don't, but I can't really tell. I could see it go both ways. I really could.
Yeah, I can see it, and I agree. I hope it doesn't happen. I really hope it doesn't. Sorry, I'm toggling with the background. Now we're in the right sport, Matt. Now we can continue on.
Well, there we go.
Yeah, I hope it's not like that. I hope it doesn't go back to that. And yeah, I mean, I'm always in the minority, Matt, and saying, what, just like let them all play through it. Let them all I mean, literally you're going out there and sweating on each other, but yet you have to wear a mask on the bench. It just, I understand it, but on the other side, it's just a double-edged sword, man. It doesn't make sense.
Right. And we have so many, like, we got a pill now for COVID. Like, there's a pill out there now. I was reading, there's so many advances and there's so many things that we are finding that we can combat it. We can get us healthier. And we're even this Omarion virus is not, or this strain of the virus is not as bad, and it's easier to get through. And it also builds up your immunity to more viruses, or to more, it builds up your immunity better. That's what I was reading about. So that's good. And then what did we do when we had the cold and we had the flu, like these players? Because we never had shutdowns. I mean, every now and then you would hear about a team, getting flu stricken, but it's like a handful of players, and then you shoot them up with fluids and stuff like that. You get them going, they get through the game. Like, are people still getting colds? Are we still getting the flu? Like, what's this is where the COVID is kind of heading towards, to where it's looking at, like you said, the LeBron, he's got the Spider-Man pointing around. Like, is that kind of where we're going? And if it is, then like you said, well, you're sweating on them, you're spitting on them, you're getting your noses in your armpits. Like you mentioned, let's play through it. If this is where we're going with it, which I feel like this is where we're going, the majority of people are going this way. Let's let them play, and let's not even worry about it. Do your best, do what we can to make them get better, like you would with the cold or the flu. And say, man, it's not the cold or flu. Well, it feels like that's where a lot of these people are pointing us, are kind of like hurting us towards. It's like the flu now. It's like the common cold now. That's kind of where we're getting pushed. That's what I feel like. So yeah, let them freaking play. I agree 100%. Let them play.
Yeah, and I also went on record in saying, Matt, that they are going to, because we were almost out of it, towards the end of the year, Matt, and then like you said, Omarion came back on the scene, started singing R&B songs.
Yep.
And then, I said they're going to, try not to make jokes of it, but it's become laughable at this point because it's been almost 2 years, and it'll be 2 years. This was like the end of January will be 2 years since the first major cases and stuff like that. And they're going to just start naming variants like they do hurricanes.
Right. Right. You're probably right. And like, I was even reading something too. There was like flu Rona. I read something this morning when I woke up. I don't know if it was real or not. I didn't have time to really dig into it, but I saw somebody had flu Rona in Israel. And now they're saying that's the worst thing ever to get in your life is flu Rona, which is the flu and corona mixed. It hybrided it. I don't know. I don't even know the right terminology, but yeah, that's probably where we're going, is they're going to have variants of it. And just like you have different variants of a cold, like I feel like that's where we're going. And I mean, yes, vaccines, stuff like that. If we can get stuff that works and help us get better, I'm all for it. But let's play. Let's play. You're sweating, you're spitting, you're smelling, you're doing all kinds of stuff. Let's just play already. I mean, that's what we're doing.
Yeah, so hopefully neither of these leagues, hopefully we don't see a bubble system as once again. I understand keeping everyone safe, but at this point, Matt, you just almost have to go through it. I'm sure the athletes are sick of it, which is why, LeBron put that out there, which is honestly why Draymond put that out there. Everyone's just, for no pun intended, man, everyone's just sick of it. So yeah. Well, hopefully no bubble system. All right, we're going to take a timeout. On the other side, we are going to run through the NFL slate of games. No Saturday games, obviously, because they did not want to compete with the college bowl games. But and no Thursday night games going forward either. So all these games are going to be on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And, of course, if there's a COVID issue, they might move stuff around. But a full slate of Sunday games today. And we'll also see how you did in fantasy football. We'll do that next right here on the Wheelhouse, elevation5280sports.com.
NFL Analysis Network is your one-stop source for coverage of all 32 teams. We provide in-depth analysis, news, and opinions about all things football. Since you're online anyway, check out NFLanalysis.net, Elevation 5280 Sports' exclusive new teammate on the gridiron.
Great party, huh, guys?
Yeah, it is. So much fun.
I do say so myself. Hey, did you know that birthday parties actually help build confidence in kids?
Yeah, I did know that.
Did you know that giving kids less sugar before bedtime helps them sleep better?
Right, of course.
Yeah, I knew that. Did you know that strollers have the right of way on sidewalks?
Oh, yeah, I knew that.
Yeah, that's true. Did you know that friendly kids statistically have more friends?
Everyone knows that.
Oh, yeah?
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
So obvious.
Hey, guys, did you know that most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
I didn't know that.
I think I knew that.
No, you didn't.
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right car seat at the right age and size. Visit safercar.gov/the right seat to make sure your child is protected. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hey, Michael Spillane here for Anchor.fm, Elevation 5280's new podcasting hosting platform. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. Number one, it's free. You can't beat that. Next, there's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will then distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many, many more. You can then make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Once again, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started.
There's nothing better than sitting in your local barbershop talking sports with everyone.
We understood the sacrifices that we were making. We understood the condition and the landscape that we were going into, along with the bubble.
Sorry, not with LeBron James. Join Daryl Lane with special guest host Kenny Sem from 24/7 Sports on Barbershop Sports Talk every Monday evening at 8 Mountain. It'll be like you're back in the chair getting a fresh cut.
One of these teams, Kenny, is going to be out of the playoffs. We are going to have, Kenny, a 10-win team not in the playoffs. When I tell you that, how crazy is that, team? That we could have a team with 10 wins not make the playoffs.
Yeah, it's really crazy. It's really sad for a team that's going to have 10 wins and going to be on the outside looking in. You know, the NFL went about it having an additional team this year qualified for the playoffs at 7 teams per conference. It's supposed to be easier to make the playoffs, and this year it looks like it's harder to make the playoffs, especially in the AFC. I mean, realistically, looking at the schedule, be talking about a team being left out with 11 wins next week. 11.
Once again, catch Barbershop Sports Talk every Monday evening at 8. Only on Elevation5280sports.com. Careful. It's tough to breathe up. This segment on Elevation 5280 Sports is brought to you by the NFL Analysis Network, your one-stop source for all 32 teams.
And welcome back into the Wheelhouse here. Matt and Michael hanging out with you. Happy New Year as we are on the second day of 2022 now. Don't forget to check out the website, elevation5280sports.com. All of the podcasts of our shows are up there in the audio vault, and the Wheelhouse today will be up there in a little bit after we wrap things up in about 20 minutes or so. Well, Matt, a lot of games on the docket today. As all the games, 2 more weeks left, Matt. There's no bye weeks, nothing. Really quickly before we get into the slate of games, Matt, how did you do in all of your fantasy leagues?
I didn't do too good this year. I had one league that I was in the first round of the playoffs. The other 2 leagues, one league I was second to last, and the other league I was in the middle of the pack somewhere. I didn't have very good drafts. Now, my evaluations of players were, so what happened this year, and what I noticed this happens a lot with other people, but it happened to me big time, is I was drafting on, I was hoping that I was going to get previous year's success out of players that they've had in the years past, but I think they're done where they're being viable fantasy football players. So I screwed up in the draft. My trends that I was trying to pick up on, because you know how you either nail it in the draft, you get 2 good core guys. I had injuries too. I had Derrick Henry that he's out for the season. I had to deal with a lot of Montgomery was out for a little bit. There was other handful of players that I had that were in and out of the lineup. So it killed me. But drafting, and I didn't pick up on the right trends this year. Usually I'll snag a couple players on one of my teams that, you didn't anticipate as being good, but you pick them up through the waiver wire or you make a trade. I didn't do that well this year, so I didn't have a very good season. How did you go?
Well, I had Derrick Henry also carried me to third place in the standings, carried me to a 10-win season, Matt, in one of the leagues, $100 league, and then fell short in the playoffs. So, yeah, I did not do well. I think I only had 4 wins in the other $100 league, so did not do well. Long story short, not getting any of my money back.
Right. That's where I'm at too. And usually that's what I usually do every season is I either make my money back or I make money to reinvest into the season. I always tell them, hey, keep my winnings, keep whatever amount of the money that's for the fee next year, and we're good to go. This year, I'm going to have to pay next year, which sucks. But I mean, and it was funny. I was giving these guys heck. I was like, man, it sucks losing. Is this what it feels like every single year to lose? I was giving these guys crap because I haven't lost. It's been a while. I mean, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but it's been a while since I haven't been in the championship game or in the playoffs leading up the semi game. So it's been a while in all of my leagues since I haven't done that. So it kind of sucks to see how the losers feel. Mike, sucks.
Yeah, it does. It sucks being on the bottom. But all you can do is bounce up and go back up higher.
I'm ready for next year already. I'm doing mock drafts now, for next season. I'm getting ready. It ain't going to happen again.
Really quickly, but speaking of video games, Matt just picked up a golf game for the old Xbox. So I'm excited to play that.
Was it the Tiger Woods one?
No, they don't make that anymore. It's now called PGA Tour something, 2K22 or something like that, because Tiger Woods was EA Sports, and I think they dropped him after the whole the whole debacle with his wife. So I think they don't make that anymore. But I got the 2K one, so we'll see how that is. Golf games are always fun. Can't play a lick of golf in real life, but I gotta I think we've touched on this before. Decent at the driving range, top golf type stuff. Decent at mini golf, just can never put 2 and 2 together.
Yeah. Golf is one of those sports where when you find that, it's all about finding the swing. It's all in the hips. It's all in the hips.
And what's funny is, and the other thing too is, Matt, like, if I'm not decent at something right away, I have zero patience for it.
I understand that. Like I'm the same way. If I do something and I'm like, there's a little hint of this could be fun, or a little hint that I could be okay at this and I might have fun playing this, I'm going to keep doing it. But if there's nothing for me there, if there's no oomph, like I'm out. I'm not interested.
Yeah. So we'll see how I do on the old council for golf. All right, let's get into these games, Matt, here. Starting with the early games. One team basically, they almost resurrected their season. The other team still in the AFC playoff mix, the Atlanta Falcons, coming in 7-8, and the Buffalo Bills coming in 9-6. Definitely not the season that a lot of us thought the Bills would have. But and so here we go. Josh Allen, I don't want to say came down to earth this season. But, I think in Denver we take his stats over probably anything that they trotted out there on the field this season. Over 4,000 yards, 34 touchdowns, 12 picks. Would you not take that as a Denver Broncos fan?
Oh, heck yes. All day, every day, and twice on Sunday.
I would take Matt Ryan's stats, to be honest with you, Matt. 3,500 yards, 19 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Same record as the Denver Broncos are the Atlanta Falcons. Devin Singletary, just over 600 yards rushing. Cordell Patterson, the wide receiver, Matt. It's pretty bad when your wide receiver's your leading rusher. But 6 touchdowns. Stephon Diggs having a good year. Over 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. Kyle Pitts, the rookie tight end, 949 yards and 1 touchdown. Buffalo is at home. A lot of stakes on the line here for the Bills, Matt. I think they got it done at home against the Falcons.
The Falcons football team is pretty freaking good. You talk about the ultimate chicken salad from Chicken Bleep that this freaking franchise has put together here. They weren't. You lose Julio Jones, probably your greatest wide receiver of all time. I would team history, at least. Calvin Ridley's out, right? He's not playing anymore. He got hurt. You don't have a running game to think of. You got Cordell Patterson, who has bounced from team to team to team trying to find a spot, but has always had that kind of like, if you can get Cordell the ball, if you can get him in these situations, he can do that. He was tremendous this season. And I think they had running back situations. Yeah, Kyle Pitts, who they took, they were kind of getting some crap for that pick when they took him. They were almost thinking that they were going to take a Mac Jones because of Matt Ryan's situation. And here's this team that is in playoff contention. And I think that I'm a big fan of what that Atlanta Falcons team has done. And I don't know if they're going to keep going. I don't know if they're going to be able to beat the Bills, but can you imagine in Buffalo, because it is a dome team, so to speak. And I don't know if they're built to go in there and beat a Buffalo Bills team like that. But like you mentioned, the Bills are kind of, we don't really know what they're going to do, what Josh Allen's going to do. We don't really know if we're going to come out and see that dominant Bills team. They could wishy-washy. We don't know what we're going to see here. So I'm going to go with the Bills just because they're at home, but I wouldn't be shocked if Falcons win. Matt Ryan too. Hey, quarterback we could see here possibly next season if all the other stuff don't happen either.
Yeah, and we'll get into all that other stuff before we wrap things up. All right, well, so we both you picked the Bills, right?
Yes, Bills.
Okay, cool. All right, moving on to another early game. The Kansas City Chiefs have have wrapped up the AFC West going into this game 11-4, and I don't want to say inconsistent, Matt, but a very, very, you don't know what you're getting, kind of like Buffalo. You don't know what you're going to get with the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow could go out, throw 100 yards. Last week, he throws out 520-plus yards. Oh, man. Again, two teams with quarterbacks you would just love to see on your team. Cincinnati at home, how well or how much is Kansas City going to play their starters with the AFC West wrapped up? That's going to be the question. Obviously, Patty Mahomes had a slow start to the year, has caught fire, 4,300 yards, 33 touchdowns, 13 picks. Most of those picks, man, in the first 5 weeks of the season. Edwards-Helaire, the running back, missed some time, but he's over 500 yards. Tyreek Hill, once again, over 1,100 yards receiving and 9 touchdowns. Again, Joe Burrow, 4,100 yards. Joe Mixon, 1,100 yards. And Jamar Chase, 1,100 yards. And don't forget, their other wide receiver, Matt, is catching up to Jamar Chase. So they could have 2 rookie wide receivers over 1,000 yards receiving this season, Matt. Still 2 weeks to go. I mean, this one really just depends on if Kansas City is going to play their starters for the entire game. Otherwise, Cincinnati's still a lot to play for, trying to get that AFC North wrapped up, in cahoots with the Steelers, with the Ravens still. So just because Cincinnati has a lot to play for, I want to pick them because they're going to be scratching and clawing this whole game, and just how much is Kansas City starters going to play. That's what this game hinges on.
Right. That's what we're looking at is does Kansas, because this is one of those games where you have it now and the winner, I feel like Cincinnati's going to win this game. I'm going to go with Cincinnati. And I think they're going to win it anyway, even if Kansas City comes out with their starters and has their starters out there. I think this is a proving stage or proving ground game for the Bengals, who are a young team that haven't quite put it all together yet. They struggled during the season. Then they've kind of started to come back and put a little bit more together. I thought this team was going to run away with that division. And then they kind of had a little stumble. They stumbled a little bit. And then now, the injuries with the Ravens, and then with Lamar, and then Pittsburgh not doing what Pittsburgh does, and Cleveland not doing what Cleveland was predicted to do. I think Cincinnati, this is there for them to take, and I think they're going to go and take it. And with Kansas City now, this is a game we can see later on in the playoffs, where in the playoffs, this could be a totally different situation where Kansas City could. This is one of those games where I look at is, you remember we would see them a lot here, especially here in Denver. Denver were going and they would beat Indianapolis, right? They would punch them, they would beat them up, and then they would draw them again in the playoffs, and then Indianapolis would come in and just smoke them. This is what I kind of feel like a scenario that could potentially happen with the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Cincinnati gets the regular season win, but we can see this matchup later on down the road, and I think it could be a totally different outcome with Kansas City being on top. But today, I think Cincinnati gets this W.
Yeah, hopefully, as we'll see what happens. And again, with what Kansas City could trot out there, could be the turning point for this game. All right, another matchup in the AFC. Where the heck did Miami come from, Matt? They're coming in on a 7-game winning streak, 8-7, as they're fighting for some kind of playoff spot coming out of the AFC East. Fighting with Buffalo, fighting with New England again. Tennessee right now 10-5, first place in the AFC South. Again, how much is Tennessee going to be playing their starters? I think if they win, they are wrapping up the AFC South, Matt, and with the Colts loss or something like that, and Ryan Tannehill in a weird position as he could do this against his former team. Ryan Tannehill, not the greatest season in terms of what he did the last couple years in Tennessee, 3,300 yards, 15 touchdowns, 14 picks. Derrick Henry, Matt, how about this? Derrick Henry, 3 weeks into his injury, so 3 weeks of not playing, he was still the third highest rushing yard total in the NFL, and he's still almost finished. And he got injured week 8, Matt, at 937 yards. A.J. Brown is back this week. He's got 760 on the season. How about Jalen Waddle, the rookie for Miami, 940 yards. Myles Gaskin on the ground, 590. And Tua having a lot better year without really anybody breathing down his neck. Jacoby Brissett had to start a couple of games due to injury, 15 touchdowns, 9 picks. A lot on the line for both of these teams, Matt. Tennessee is playing for the division. Miami playing for, just to sniff a wild card spot. I think that Tennessee gets it done at home, especially with, the load that's on Ryan Tannehill going against his former team. Could wrap up the division against his former team. So he's going to be playing like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. I think Tennessee wraps up this division today, or at least puts himself in a better situation to wrap up the division. And Miami's just with what they're doing, and another, chicken salad, chicken bleep type of situation with what Miami was doing. Yeah, they were good last season, but they came in and they had like you mentioned, just a stretch of I think they won one game and then lost the remaining 7, and now they turned around and won this. Just went on a run. I'm not going to call it fool's gold or say that they can't keep going, but I think it stops here today with A.J. Brown being back. This offense with the Titans was built around Derrick Henry, and this is where later in the season, later in the playoffs, where he always excelled, where he always just ran the ball down everybody's throats and put the game away. You don't have that today, but they do have a semblance of a running game there in Tennessee that they'll use, but they got those big wide receivers on the outside. So, and I think Tannehill in Tennessee gets it done today. It's just, I think it'll be too much for Miami because they really like to use Waddle a lot. Like, I don't know if you noticed that, if you saw how they get him involved, but you don't see that a lot with Jerry Jeudy here. But Alabama receivers, they're really good if you use situations to get them more involved. They're really good. So Miami was doing that. I just don't know if they have enough with that running game with Gaskins. If they had a better running game, if there's more consistent with in Miami, I feel like they could have better chance today, because I feel like that's the kind of football game it's going to be with Tennessee Titans. But I got Tennessee all the way.
All right, moving on to another game with a lot of potential playoff implications. The 8-7 Las Vegas Raiders coming in to Indianapolis. The aforementioned Colts at 9-6, fighting for a playoff spot. Good news for the Colts is that Carson Wentz will play today. He has cleared COVID protocols, and he will play today. So big news for the Colts today. Carson Wentz having a pretty good year, 3,200 yards, 25 touches, and 6 picks. Jonathan Taylor in the MVP discussion. Where did this guy come from? 1,600 rushing yards, 17 touchdowns, Matt. 17 for Jonathan Taylor. And Michael Pittman Jr., the leading receiver for the Colts at 971. Derek Carr having another Derek Carr type season, 4,300 yards, 20 touchdowns, 12 picks. Josh Jacobs on the ground, 677. And Hunter Renfrow is only 51 yards away from a 1,000-yard season. He's got 6 touchdowns as well. Well, Matt, before Carson Wentz was announced that he was going to play, I would have said the Raiders could go into Indy and spoil what could be a wild card berth, as Vegas is fighting for one of those wild card berths as well at 8-7. But I think with Carson Wentz on the field, lot playing for, I think Indy honestly gets it done at home.
I agree. And you got the league's MVP essentially there with Jonathan Taylor and what he's doing. And yeah, I said that. And I know Aaron Rodgers is out there. I feel like Jonathan Taylor's what he's done this season. He is the league MVP, because if Jonathan Taylor doesn't do what he does, I don't think this Indianapolis Colts team is even sniffing where they are today. It's not all Carson Wentz. I love Carson Wentz. I loved Carson Wentz. I should say that. I should take that back. Philly Carson Wentz. This Carson Wentz now, I love the way he plays. I like how he plays football, but it's not all him. This is all Jonathan Taylor. And I think he's just going to keep pounding the football. They're still going to keep pounding the football, and Carson Wentz is going to make plays when he can and try not to throw a stupid interception and do the stupid things that he does. Timely stupid things that he can do. But yeah, I got Indy all the way here. I feel like the Raiders, unless they're playing the Broncos, they're not a good football team unless they're playing the Broncos. When they play the Broncos, they look like they're one of the best freaking teams in the league consistently. But I just don't know if they can do the things that they've done against this Indianapolis Colts football team with Jonathan Taylor running the football down their throats. And I got Indy all the way here. I'm curious to see if Miami does go on there and pull off the upset with Tennessee, what this does now with that whole AFC West and going into next week, or AFC South, I should say, going into next week, and see how that works out. It'll be very interesting.
But have you watched any of the in-season Hard Knocks with the Colts? No?
I haven't been able to see. Well, I thought we had an HBO Max thing, but I guess it ran out or something. So maybe I want to sign up for it again, but I haven't been able to see it. Is it any good?
Yeah, I like the insight and stuff like that. Never was a Carson Wentz fan, as you probably know, but watching all the behind the scenes thing is pretty cool to see that. And yeah, a lot of focus on Jonathan Taylor too. Jonathan Taylor. Thomas, I almost said. Not to be confused with Jonathan.
I don't think so, Tim.
Yeah, not to be confused with Jonathan Taylor, the running back for the Indianapolis Colts.
I don't think so, Tim.
So there you go. All right, moving on to a game with just playoff implications all over the place, except for the Jacksonville Jaguars, which, post Urban Meyer, we'll see how that goes. They are already interviewing coaches. Matt, Byron Leftwich, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator, former first-round pick of the Jaguars, getting an interview down in Florida, going up against I don't want to say surprising New England Patriots because of Bill Belichick, but 9-6, fighting again, sitting in second place, even though them and the Bills have the same record, but, tiebreakers and such, they technically sit in second place. A lot on the line for the Patriots. I don't think Bill Belichick gives any crap about what Jacksonville's throwing out there. New England gets it done at home.
I agree. I don't see anything coming from Jacksonville that would make me think that, hey, they're going to come in here and pull an upset. Like there's just nothing. There's nothing there. So yeah, I got this feels like when Wayne's World, when they're doing that trip around the world and they pop into Delaware and they're like, "Hi, I'm in Delaware." Like that's what I feel like with the Jaguars. There's just this. I just don't see how they could upset the Patriots, or they can even put a scare into the Patriots if they go out. They can run the ball the entire time and beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like that's just. They already done that against the Bills, so that was a pretty good football team. So they can do that here today, and the Patriots need this kind of game because I feel like they've been kind of flailing, kind of not knowing who they are after being pretty hot and kind of surprised. Like you said, surprising, but it's hard to say Bill Belichick team surprising. So I got freaking Patriots all day in this game, and it doesn't even matter how it happens. Like they're going to win.
All right. One of the last early games coming your way. Philadelphia turn around their season, 8-7 on the season. Obviously, Dallas wrapped up the NFC East, but Philadelphia trying to play for a wild card spot going against Washington. Same division, big division matchup. Washington basically out of it on the outside looking in. Jalen Hurts, a lot better season, 2,900 yards, 16 touchdowns. Miles Sanders on the ground. Devontae Smith, the rookie, with 821 yards. Taylor Heineke, Matt. Taylor, don't call me Tyler once again. 20 touchdowns, 14 picks, over 3,000 yards passing. Again, with these teams with a lot to play for, trying to get into the playoffs, I just don't see a way Washington wins this. But it is a division game, and you know how every division matchup across the league plays each other. Always tough, always a good game, but I think Philly goes on the road and gets it done, and especially with all the injuries that Washington has on the defensive side.
I agree 100%. I think Philly gets it done here. I want to look at Washington and say that they can probably put up a game, and they can really do, because they've kind of done that all season, is where they've played you tough. They play you tough. You go into Washington and you're going to get a tough football game. But I think this team, if you get up on them early, just the way they are in the season, just with, like you said, they're depleted in injuries. They're just not putting things together. They're out of the playoff race. They just got hammered by the Cowboys, and you would want to think that they come out and show up. But if Philly goes up, double digits on them, 2 scores on them pretty quick, they could probably, look at it and be like, I'm done, and just tap out. So yeah, I got Philly all day in this. One thing to note is that I love what Jalen Hurts is doing, and that running game that Philadelphia is doing is tremendous. But it sucks having, if you had Howard and you had Sanders healthy, and I can see this freaking team even more deadly with like that. Like this is a team and a franchise to watch going forward, especially in fantasy football implications with that running game, with what Jalen Hurts can do, and we can get going with what he can do. And also too, a little home cooking here with Gardner Minshew. If Jalen Hurts is the guy there in Philly, ooh, I like Gardner Minshew, but I think Philly gets a big win today. It could be double digits for sure, like a freaking bomb go off on Washington.
All right, the last early game on the slate today, Matt, the LA Rams and the Baltimore Ravens. Big game for both of these games, because if the Rams somehow lose, Matt, Arizona still has a chance to climb up and take that division. Arizona, what happened to them? They clinched a playoff spot, but they are now sitting in a wild card position. So both the Rams and the Cardinals have clinched a playoff spot, but the NFC West has not been sewn up for either team. But the Rams sit in that first place right now at 11-4, Arizona at 10-5, and don't forget about San Francisco, the second. So there could be 3 NFC West teams, Matt, that make the playoffs this year, as San Francisco sits in that second wild card spot. But a lot on the line for Baltimore, Matt. I mean, this has just been a weird season for them. A lot of injuries, a lot of COVID issues. Lamar Jackson was practicing and then he got sick at practice or something like that. Just weird. Not having to. I don't want to. He's over 3,000 yards from the line of scrimmage, Matt. 2,800 yards passing. He's their leading rusher. I always say, Matt, if your quarterback's your leading rusher, it's just not a successful season. But Baltimore is at home. I think the Rams and Matt Stafford, who, kind of quarter way through the season, hit some road bumps finally, but still 36 touchdowns, 13 picks, over 4,300 yards. Cooper Kupp in the MVP discussion at wide receiver, Matt, 1,700 yards receiving and 14 touchdowns. And Mark Andrews having a great year for a tight end. I don't know. Baltimore's at home, a lot to play for. But the Rams really, really want this division, and I think they go into Baltimore and win this game. And the question mark is Lamar Jackson. I'm looking at their injury report, Matt. Hollywood Brown is questionable for the Baltimore Ravens, so we'll see about that. Cam Akers questionable for the Rams as well. But Lamar Jackson is not even on their injury report, so I'm assuming he's good to go. He is questionable. There he is. He is questionable with an ankle, so we'll see what happens. But he did get sick at practice, Matt, the other day. So a lot going on with Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, and I would say I would give Baltimore a chance in this game if we knew 100% that Lamar Jackson was going to go out and he was going to be Lamar Jackson. And like you mentioned, like he's the leading rusher on this team, and it's hard when this team was designed to run the football, but it was designed to run the football with running back help. And now you got like Devontae Freeman you have to rely on because of all your injuries at the running back position. I mean, you even got your fullback that's listed on the injury list and might not even play. So if just because all the injuries, we don't know what Lamar Jackson is going to play, or if he does play, if he's going to have anything to add with that ankle injury, and he's feeling sick. I got the Rams all the way. They're starting to run the ball a little bit better, starting to get back to the things they like to do with McVay and running the football when they had a healthy I just forgot his name now, back in the day when he first took over, when he was running the football with him, and now getting Akers back potentially, if he does play today, that can only help boost your running game. You got Cooper Kupp. I think I want to see what the Rams look like on a winning streak, put some wins together going into the playoffs and see what they do there, because we don't know what Arizona is going to look like today with that Cowboys game. I'm sure we'll get to later, but yeah, what's happened to them? But yeah, I got the Rams all day.
All right, huge, as we indicated, huge NFC matchup here. Well, especially for one team, the Arizona Cardinals going into Dallas. Again, how much will Dallas be playing their starters with the division and a playoff spot already wrapped up? Arizona fighting. They clinched a playoff spot, Matt, but they're fighting for that division. They want to, maybe a potential first round bye. Don't know if they can get that far up the chains, but this is a good matchup. Both these teams are in the playoffs, maybe potential NFC Championship game matchup, depending. But Kyler Murray had missed, 4 games in a row, Matt, with an injury, but he's having a decent year, 3,200 yards, 21 touchdowns. Dak Prescott, finally, this is what a healthy Dak Prescott can look like. And, watching Hard Knocks before the season with the Dallas Cowboys made me really like Dak Prescott. Still don't like the Cowboys, but Dak seems like a chill dude. 3,900 yards, 29 touchdowns, 10 pick. Ezekiel Elliott, after a very, very slow start, Matt, has finally picked things up, especially, Matt, with a two-headed monster down there. Ezekiel Elliott at the running back position, almost 900 yards, 10 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb over 1,000 yards. And he missed a couple games with injury and COVID issues as well. Honestly, Matt, this is one of those coin flip games. Again, will Dallas be playing all their guys, and for how long? Because they have the division wrapped up, especially Dak and Zeke. You do not want to get those guys hurt, especially Dak, the way he's playing. It wouldn't surprise me if Arizona went on the road because of how inconsistent, up and down roller coaster season they've been having, starting off the season 8-0 and now right now 10-5. If Dak plays the whole game, I see Dallas winning, but if they give him a rest or whatever, Arizona could walk away with a win.
Yeah, for sure. It's and you got to look at Dallas too, because they're kind of still in that 1 seed category. If the Packers get knocked off, which I don't think they're going to lose to Minnesota today, then if they drop 1 game and Dallas wins out, they could have that potential 1 seed. So, do they have that on their mind? And if in this Dallas Cowboys offense is, and the team in general, but the offense in particular, if Mike McCarthy just stays out of the freaking way, this is what it can look like. This is what this offense can do. So, and then you look at Arizona, which this is a road game for Arizona. And I feel more comfortable picking the Cardinals in a road game situation than I do at home. They have a horrible home record. They have no semblance of a home field advantage with Arizona. And I think that's one of their downfalls. I think that's one of their issues is they don't have a home field. They have zero when they're at home. It's like everybody, the teams that go to play Arizona they're excited. They're like on a vacation. We come somewhere where it's warm, it's nice here. And there's no home field advantage at all whatsoever with Arizona. I mean, their home record's not very good. So I think that's a little bit of the problems, but I think that they get into a situation where they right the wrongs today. And I am going to go with the Cardinals. I think that they go in, make a big statement, and win against Dallas Cowboys team, which I think is going to be full. And I think is going to going into this game to try to win this game, because I think that they do want to be that number 1 seed. Jared Jones wants that number 1 seed up there. And so I think they're going to go full board, but I do think the Cardinals get the win today. Pull the upset, say if so to speak.
All right, moving on very quickly. The Sunday night game, as you mentioned, actually Minnesota, Matt, still just below the wild card line. Let's just really quickly, the NFC wild card looks like this: Arizona, San Francisco, and Philly. San Francisco and Philly both at 8-7 records. Minnesota right there at 7-8, although it's a steep hill to climb going against division rival Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't care if they have the division wrapped up already. He's going to play probably the full game and just tear up the Minnesota defense. So we'll see what happens there. Monday night game, bit of a snooze fest. An AFC North battle between the 7-8 Cleveland Browns and the 7-1 Pittsburgh Steelers. This could be, as Big Ben has indicated, his last home game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is as retirement lingering. Big Ben obviously not the same, but definitely doesn't have the same type of 37-year-old season that Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady's 41, but and he's just not too happy about it. So there's our memories of Big Ben right there.
I was waiting for that
the stream. So honestly, another coin flip game for me on Monday night, Matt. Why the heck not? Pittsburgh at home, Big Ben, maybe a lot of emotional game for him. Could go out there and play well. That's the Monday night game. So before we get out of here, Matt, we'll bring it back local. A lot to play for the I was going to say San Diego. The LA Chargers at home, 8-7. Denver still trying to, I guess, scratch and claw their way in. Teddy Bridgewater will not play this game. I don't foresee a reason why they would play him the rest of the season, coming off his second concussion of the season. 18 touchdowns, 7 picks, over 3,000 yards. Justin Herbert, a future, if not an already star in this league, 4,300 yards, 33 touchdowns. Keenan Allen, again, another 1,000-yard receiving. Just depends, man, on how consistent this running game is. I want to say one thing for Drew Lock. I don't think him or Bridgewater are the answer, but at least Drew Lock takes shots downfield, take chances. The only risk that Bridgewater took this season, Matt, he got hurt on. We're sometimes you want to see Drew Lock check down, but at least he takes shots downfield, and that's I guess all you can ask for. You just got to be a little bit more accurate and get some timing down. I don't see a reason why Denver can't go into an LA. They don't really have a home field advantage, especially at SoFi. They couldn't even fill a soccer stadium the last couple of years, and a lot of it was orange jerseys out there at Carson. But at SoFi, another mixed batch of fans. It's not really a home field advantage. Again, this is another could go either way type game for me, but why not, Matt? Broncos on the road.
I agree. I got the Broncos winning this game. And the only reason why I got the Broncos winning this game is because there's nothing on the line. Everything's done. You don't have to go out and prove yourself to anybody, any teams. You just have to go out and play a football game. And when the Broncos are put those kind of, things in front of them, when they don't have to go out there and show that they're a good football team, they'll go out there and be a good football team. And then they'll have us next week wondering if they're a good football team. So they do crap like that to us. And I think they're going to do that to us again today. And the running game, I think, is going to be better. It's got to be better for them to win. And the only downside to this whole football game is, or what could potentially derail it, is Schumer. He's done that. We've seen the same thing with Teddy Bridgewater, and we've seen the same thing with Drew Lock. We're going to go out and see an offense that is, doesn't have a lot of imagination to it, doesn't have a lot of, design stuff to get your playmakers involved outside of throw it. You need a first down on, it's 3rd and 8, and you throw it 6 yards, and you're expecting the guy to get, 3 yards and a first down. So that's what we got. So, I got the Broncos winning. Despite all of that, I got the Broncos winning today because of that defense. I think that defense is going to come up and be huge today and show out. And I think the Chargers are chargering right now. Currently, they're doing Charger things, and I think they're not going to look out there. And Justin Herbert's going to make some mistakes today to this defense. But I got the Broncos winning.
All right, and before we get out of here, this just coming down from Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, Matt. Bears likely to fire Matt Nagy after Week 18. It says Bears will begin their search for a new head coach after Week 18. And I think I can collectively speak for all Bears fans and saying thank God.
Congratulations, Mike. Congratulations on that.
I would take the Raiders situation all day. You don't really have a head coach, and you're going and beating teams.
Yeah, I exactly, and that's what I don't understand. What the hell? What happened here in that same situation? And then that, like, you come out and say you're going to fire a guy in the game, it's not even, the season's not even really even over yet. So yeah, I agree. Like, what I understand, there's no point that there's that whole why would you fire a coach during the season? Why would you do that? Because then you put more work on other coaches to take over and blah 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 blah. But if you're getting the same results over and over again, why the hell are you going to want to see it over and over again? That's
Well,
just
and I guess in the Raider situation, it was almost
Forced.
warranted because of the whole John Gruden situation. But yeah, during the seasons, kind of honestly, Matt, as the Broncos, following the Broncos here in Denver, Fangio should have been long gone. I don't care if that was in season, what
Yeah.
season. You have a former head coach in Mike Munchak. You have, I don't want to put Pat Shurmur in that same sentence as a former head coach,
yeah.
but you have former head coaches on this staff who could have easily stepped in and took the role, as you know, an interim head coach or whatever. So we'll see what happens during the Broncos end of their season if they're in a coaching search. And the reason I skipped the Bears game this week, Matt, anyway, is because number one, they're 5-10 going up against the 4-11 Giants.
Yeah.
But how dumb is this, Matt? You win a game last week. Justin Fields still recovering from injury. I don't see any reason to play him the rest of the season, honestly. Let him get healthy. You win last week with Nick Foles. And Nick Foles, don't forget, he's the third-string quarterback on this team. And then you're going to go out and try Andy Dalton back out there this week when you won last week with Nick Foles. And Andy Dalton was not even active last week. This is why Matt Nagy should have been gone a long time ago.
I agree 100% because he doesn't know what the hell he's going to do this. And at the beginning of the season, Andy Dalton's our guy. Andy Dalton's our guy. And then 3 or 4 weeks later, we got to go with Justin Fields. We got to go with Justin Fields. And then now, you know, he comes out, declares, you know, Nick Foles comes out, wins a great game. I agree. Just roll with it. Leave him in there. It's not going to hurt him. It's not going to hurt anybody if you just keep doing that. It's the same thing what we got going on here. It's like, here in Denver, Denver fans, the same situation. We see the same thing, and the result there is the coach being fired. And I think we're going to see the same result here.
Yeah, and I think I speak for all Bears and Broncos fans when I say
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be.
There you go. We'll just end on that note because that's just where we are. Yeah, just a lot of games. Skipped a couple games. Number one, because they don't matter.
Right.
Number two, Tampa Bay probably going to beat the Jets. Stuff like that. So we did skip a few games. You know, Detroit, Seattle, Carolina, New Orleans, games that really don't have any playoff implications or that matter. I guess Saints on the outside kind of looking in at 7 and 8. But besides that, I was hoping Trevor Siemian would get a better shake down there in New Orleans.
T-Sim down there, baby. Yeah, I know. Real quick before we get out of here, I want to wish good luck to one of my other teams in one of my leagues, Hillary. She has, you know, been busting my child. I can never beat her. She's so freaking good. I won so many championships, but I can never beat her. She drafts a lot of the same guys I draft. So good luck to you, Hillary, this season. In the Super Bowl, I hope you win. Kind of, sort of. Not really.
I was going to say, this is probably when we were talking about fantasy football.
Yeah.
And they put it up there on the screen if you're following the stream. I said, quit changing the subject, Matt. Let's talk more about you losing and me in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
There you go.
Yep. See, this is what I'm saying. This is what I get. That's what I have to deal with. Like I win. I'm so dominant in that league, and I win so many times that when I lose, I'm just pile it on me. Go ahead and just throw it on me. I deserve it.
There you go. All right, that's going to do it for us here on this almost New Year's Day, our first show of the new year. Hope it's a good one for you. I already broke my New Year's resolution, Matt, so it's only the second day, and the resolution is gone, so I have to think of a new one. And he's showing his drip right there. Matt is.
Go Pack, go, baby.
What they call it, drip?
We're going to do it. I think so. I think it's drip.
The kids are calling it?
Yeah, I think that's what the kids call it nowadays. Drip drop. Drip trap.
Drip is your clothes. Drip.
Pink and triple.
So there you go.
Hippity poppy, give me the solid.
All right, that's going to do it for us here on the Wheelhouse. For Matt Mascarenas, I'm Michael Sloan. Thank you all for watching and interacting with the show, and we will see you next week.